Welcome, everybody. This is a recording for What is AI and How Does It Work? We originally presented this on March 14th on a professional day that was shared across the state of Maine to educators. My name is Jeff Ireland. I am an MLTI ambassador. This is my second year, which means 2 years ago I was teaching middle school math and science at RSU in RSU4 at Oak Hill Middle School. And next year I'll be returning to do the same. And I have spent the last year and a half to 2 years delivering professional development around the state of Maine to educators and have loved every minute of it.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this reiteration or re-recording of What is AI and How Does It Work? My name is Janice Medenica, and I'm a first-year ambassador. And I used to teach in Yarmouth at Harrison Middle School. I teach science and social studies to seventh graders. And in 2026, I'll return to do that same work with the kiddos in Harrison Middle School. But for now, we get to do these PD sessions for teachers around the state. All right, so today's agenda for this session is we're going to talk a little bit about what AI is and how it works. Then we will get into some prompt crafting, so how to write prompts and how to get what we need to help our kids and ourselves. And then we'll talk about ethical and responsible use. And finally, a teacher sandbox, but we have incorporated some playtime throughout the presentation where you'll be able to pause and play as much as you want, actually. Oh, yes. And one last thing. Anywhere you see the finger pointer, like down here in the left, this icon indicates there's a link on the slide, just not on this slide. And then the image, we have stated exactly where we've created them. So these are not necessarily designed by us, but in Canva Magic Media, and we will show you that tool in this presentation as well. And today's notes from March 14th, we have 2 tiny URLs to 2 separate notebooks. One has all of the sessions that were offered, so all of the presentations are included in this QR code or tiny URL. It's not editable, but you can see all of the presentations there. And then over here, you have a tiny URL to an editable version of the notebook where you can take notes if that's your thing. It is a little clunky, but if that's your thing, then have at it. And then, Jeff, do you want to talk about this one?
Sure
The
thing.
conference?
Yeah. So on May 22nd is our annual student conference. It's in person at the University of Maine. We have thousands of kids from across the state come and participate in sessions involving technology that is geared towards the kids themselves. It's always a good time. They get to roam around the campus and experience lunch at a college and learn a lot about technology. So please sign up. There's a QR code there. And we're always looking for presenters as well. So if any of you folks out there are looking and thinking that you might have something to share with the kiddos, we would love to hear what you have to offer.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. And then we have included in our presentation the main AI roadmap, which was developed by Nicole Davis, who is our emerging technology specialist and who we work with and who's helped us design this presentation and several others around AI. In other states, states are publishing AI policies, AI roadmaps, not necessarily interactive like this one. 30 pages of a document, not as interesting, but this one is really, really useful. There's interactives, there's videos in here, lots of links, and there's an overview, teaching and learning for leadership, for teachers, and additional support. So definitely something to check out. It was created in Genially, which is going to do a shout out to that platform, which is a really cool interactive uh, program or platform that you can use to create. And then we have contact hours. So if you are needing an hour of contact hours, you can use the tiny URL or the QR code, and that'll bring you directly to the certificate that you can fill out to be able to collect those hours. All right, so in our session, these are still live. So if you have the presentation open and you'd like to vote, then go for it and see where you fall. But it was basically a comfort level with AI and familiarity. So a lot of people were right here in the top two, which made sense to us since this is a beginner's course and we're just kicking off, the understanding of what AI is and how it works. Okay, so if you haven't grabbed that QR code for this presentation or the tiny URL, here it is again. This is how you would access this presentation. Not sure, I think I forgot to mention that on the first slide. But anyway, so let's move forward with understanding AI. Okay, so this is one of my most favorite slides just because when we think of ChatGPT or AI, we think back to 2022 when it seemed like the world was coming to an end because the computers were going to take over the world, as some of my colleagues might explain that feeling. Kids are going to use it to cheat. There's so much cheating that's going to happen. But essentially, if we look all the way back through the blue to the green, AI has been around for quite a while, since the Turing test in 1943, the development of ELIZA by Weizenbaum at MIT, I believe. Is that right, Jeff? I think so. He created ELIZA, which was basically that very first chat tool. And you could chat back and forth and it seemed very human-like. And then down there, 2022, you can see that's when ChatGPT was developed and released. And so the quote says it all. And it's changed so much over the last 2 years, 3 years, even. Okay, and then AI is everywhere. We just don't always know that it's there. For example, AI-powered voice control. We've got Siri, Alexa, helping us out with several different things. Streaming, algorithms, Facebook, fraud detection, personalized learning, Grammarly, which I love, and speech to text. It's everywhere. All right, and then we have, this is also was developed by our colleagues, and they made this great visual between predictive AI and generative AI and what the differences are. Basically, both of them use machine learning, which we're going to dive into, and how exactly does that work, including deep learning, which uses neural networks that mimic the human brain, and how it has the passageways to process and deliver information. So predictive AI is basically robotics, computer vision, face recognition on your phone, um, the plant identifier app, like what's wrong with your plant. I love that app. Um, and it makes predictions and forecasts based on the statistical and historical analysis of large data sets, sometimes not so large, but it's more specialized than generative AI. And then generative AI is things like natural language processing. It's a way for computers to understand and use human language. It helps AI to read, write, and respond to questions, um, like when you talk to Siri or chat with a chatbot or Alexa. And then it can generate, as in the name, generative AI, it creates and generates. So we're going to show you some examples of predictive AI tools and generative AI tools, and how to interact with those. And generative AI basically creates new content, text, music, coding, art, visual designs, ideas, brainstorming, anything like that. Did I miss anything, Jeff?
Did perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So in these next 3 slides, we love to show these 3 tools, mostly because there's no login or sign in. So privacy policies are very good through Google and code.org. So it's safe for students to use, safe for adults to use. There's good guardrails in them. So over the next few slides, we'll be showing you what these look like and what each one can do. And just to give us a good understanding of what predictive AI is and what machine learning is. All right, so in Teachable Machine, I'm gonna go here first. Teachable Machine, again, Google's privacy policy, you do not have to sign in unless you're uploading from your Google Drive to this program. But essentially, the program is used for students to train a machine between 2 sets of data. So they can upload 2 sets of data, for example, a human or a dog. And down here, you can see where you would upload images or video, take it with the webcam. And so you could put in 10 to 20 different images of yourself, and then 10 to 20 images of, let's say, the stuffed dog. And then kids would train the machine to identify the person or the stuffed animal. And then here they could show how that works. So when there's playtime, you would be able to go in. There's a really nice video at this link. Again, you could, everything on here is clickable. And this link right here would take you directly to Teachable Machine. But getting back to this slide, so when we're looking at 2 different data sets, our brain and our experiences, we've seen lots and lots of dogs in different positions, and we've seen several cats in different positions, different colors, different species or subspecies or breed of cats, let's say, breed of dogs. And so this chatbot or the bot, the machine, has been trained on this set of dogs only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 dogs and 8 cats. But that's the only experience that it has. So the machine learns from the data it is given. And so when the machine is posted with, is this a dog or a cat? It would tend to say cat. just think for a minute why that might be. And we would have a discussion if people were in here live, but the discussion usually comes out to the fact that, well, they have similar colorings. Cat's ears are straight up, dog's ears, some of them are down, but all of the dogs are standing and all of the cats are sitting or laying down. And so it would tend to say that it's a cat. So this really kind of shows that the more data you have, the better predictions you can make. But this machine wouldn't have a full set of data in order to make the best prediction, but that's the best prediction it can make at the time. And that's what Teachable Machine is all about, which is really great. All right, and then Quick Draw. Quick Draw is another one with a large set of data. For example, you can see right here. Let me first explain what it is. Quick Draw is basically a quick draw game. It's where you are given a word and you draw it. So for example, a shoe, and the computer tries to guess from this entire set of data in Quick Draw. So from this data set, it has 115,749 shoe drawings all around the world on the internet. And so you have the data set, and then over here, you have a learning algorithm. So it would be able to identify, this is a banana, these are shoes, based on the data sets that it has. But then would it recognize these shoes if somebody drew their favorite set of heels, for example? So they make a prediction based on the data that they have. It may say that they're more closely related to a banana because of the sharp edges here. So again, this is Google's privacy policy is no sign-in. So kids can play and you can play and kind of check that out. There is also research behind the data, which is very cool. You can actually overlay all of the different drawings so you can see the patterns that it's able to identify when you're drawing, what it's actually looking for to guess what you're drawing. It's very cool. All right, and the third tool is AI for Oceans. Again, privacy policy. There's no sign-in from code.org. It starts off with a video, and you can click on this image to try it out later. But basically, it teaches the kids facts about trash in the ocean. It also teaches them how to train a machine. So you can see the machine right here. And it says, train the machine to identify fish. And so the kids go through and you say, that's not a fish. And then the next one will come through. You say, that's a fish. And it sorts them. It's like a whole sorting game, making it into two categories. But they can try out their model or they can try out the machine after having just 10 pieces of data. And then they can test it out. And so they can talk about inaccuracies in what it identifies as a fish and what it identifies as trash, like a tire, a bottle, a fish hook, or whatever like that. And then it goes on to having them put in like different colors of fish, other things that swim in the ocean, emotions of the fish. So this is a great tool for talking about bias and data sets as well. All right. And so this, how does a machine learn? I got this from the Day of AI presentation. How do we develop students' AI literacy? I've linked the presentation here because it has a lot of activities and information about how to break down a machine learning to kids. And so basically you have a data set and then the learning algorithm where it's looking at patterns. and steps, and it's kind of the process for looking at the data set to get an outcome, and which is the prediction essentially. So it's like the input and then the process and the output. And they related it to the input as ingredients to a recipe, the steps to the recipe, and the output, you either get it right or wrong. Yeah. And then we have playtime. So you could pause this and go back and check out any of these 3 slides back, and then come back to us when you're ready to move on. I believe we gave them like 10 minutes during the presentation. Okay, and welcome back. I hope you were able to try all 3, or at least one of them, to really experience what machine learning is like. It's really fascinating that we can train machines to identify certain objects. And so you can see some words written here on this. It's actually a word cloud that we've imported here. And so if you want to interact with this, these are answers from the session. You can type in 1 or 2 words about your learning or thoughts from exploring these tools or the first portion. No obligation to do so, but it is in live time, real time, not live time. All right. And then this is more just what tool did you explore? If you'd like to just think about them for a second. All righty. And then Jeff is going to take us through using a large language model.
Thanks, Janice. Great explanation of machine learning, by the way. Those are some fun tools, and some of our most favorite times of presentations is when people in the audience are playing quick draw, and the laughter and giggling that occurs. It's really quite fun. So we're going to talk now about large language models, and most prominently is ChatGPT. That's the one that everybody's heard of. And large language models are fed just massive amounts of text and data, everything on the internet, books, images, videos, etc., to train them using machine learning, as Janice has explained, in a pretty sophisticated way. And they don't they require you to prompt them, as opposed to some of the other tools we'll explore later, which ask you questions and kind of help guide you in the prompting process. But we thought we'd start with these large language models and prompting skills. So one of the books that we have read that we recommend educators to read is the AI Classroom, the Ultimate Guide, in which Dan Fitzpatrick, who's one of 3 authors, coins the phrase prompt crack, which is basically the idea that it's the skill of asking the AI tool the right questions and prompting it in a way that you will most efficiently get the output that you're looking for. So we have created a framework for prompting. It's called Robot. If we could go to the next slide, that would be awesome. Thank you. Nicole Davis, who was mentioned earlier, and her colleague Kate Meyer, came up with this framework for prompting. So the first part is refine your purpose. Be specific with the AI or with the large language model. What is it that you want? Be really clear. I want a lesson. I want a rubric, whatever it is that you want. Be really clear about that. And then O is give it a role. So optimize your role for depth. Ask it or tell it that it's an expert on the NGSS standards, or maybe it is a kind and caring educator. Maybe it is well versed in the developmental needs of middle school students. But help it refine what data it needs to draw from to give you the right output. You want to check. B is build in checks for bias detection. So a lot of some of the information that these AI tools are being trained on are biased. So you can expect that some of its Output will be biased as well, so we need to be looking for that, and we need to be training our kiddos to look for bias in the output from those AI tools. We need to outline and ask for questions. So prompt the AI to seek additional information for outlines or outline steps for better clarity. And then we need to test for self-improvement and ask AI to rate its response and ask it how it can make those responses better. And so here are some examples of how you might use robot. And so when you are prompting, when you're playing around with that, look at these as examples, and we'll even have an example where you can use one of these examples in your prompting. So here are just a few, maybe a drop in the bucket of the kinds of things that you can use a large language model to do, everything from curriculum maps to Kahoots and rubrics and lesson plans and units, really limited by your imagination or your prompting skills. You'll see on the left examples of large language models. Again, ChatGPT is the most famous one, but Claude, Gemini, Microsoft has Copilot. Magic School, which is a very popular AI tool, has Reina, which is its chatbot or its large language model. The one below, you'll see Perplexity. And one of the things that we like about Perplexity is that when it creates output from your prompt, it will share the resources it used to create your output, which allows you then to go fact check and chase down those leads to make sure that what you're getting is accurate and whatnot. The other tools don't provide that, and it's always a good idea to double check the accuracy, and for bias and perplexity can help you do that. PyAI is an interesting tool, an interesting large language model. They've trained it to really be personal or personable, and it will talk to you as if it is there with you, and it's really an interesting perspective, but also I think causes us to think and maybe share with students to remind them that they are in fact talking with a machine, even though it really you can even alter the voice and pick the voice that most pleases you to listen to and interact with. But again, reminding kids these are machines that they're talking to and not human beings. And then at bottom, you'll see there 100 prompts for teachers to ask ChatGPT. So there's a resource for you. And so we are going to take a second and kind of show you how ChatGPT would work. And while Janice is going to set us up with that, it's worth stating that ChatGPT is an 18+ tool. It's 13+ if you have consent. So it's really important that we, as educators, are keeping in mind in terms of service every time we interact with AI, specifically if we're having students or looking to have students interact with AI, that it's actually okay to do so, and do you need permission? Other than that, you might use this, as we're doing, as a kind of a teacher-led demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Janice.
Okay. All right. So last Friday, this is the prompt that we put in. And we've also, I'll show you the link in the presentation so you could go to this, which I love. Just a few things about ChatGPT. ChatGPT can be used without signing in. The only issue with that is that it doesn't save your conversations. If you do sign in, however, it will save everything that you've done, which is really nice. So we were able to go back to the biome lesson plan that we developed with ChatGPT as a thought partner. So here's the prompt. You are an expert. So think back to that robot acronym for how to prompt craft and get the best results. You're not going to get the best results right away. And so this is a really nice model for how to have a conversation with a large language model. So you are an expert in climate science. Please create a lesson plan for my 7th grade students to help them understand the different biomes on our planet, provide a variety of hands-on experiences and text types and levels. So, memory updated. So it's creating, adding that. So here's a 7th grade lesson. Within seconds, it was created, exploring Earth's biomes. It made a duration. I didn't specify, I don't think. It can be adjusted, so it's letting me know that I can say, no, can you just give me like a 1 day or a, a 2 week unit on it? And it gives an essential question. So how does climate shape the characteristics of different biomes on Earth? Gives me the objectives. If I want it to, I can even ask it to put in NGSS standards. It has the lesson breakdown, so introduction, so it's got that engage and exit ticket, which is really key for me. Hands-on component, day 2, day 3. So you have this link, so you can go back through and have a look at it. Once we got all of that, extensions and differentiation, this was a really nice thing. Struggling readers, advanced learners, hands-on learners, so more experiments if you want more. Would you like modifications? So it's a conversation, so it's asking questions as well, which is nice. And then, can you give me a list of materials that I would need? Certainly. So here are the general ones, and then exactly what I would need each day for that. Okay, optional for differentiation and extensions. Would you like recommendations for specific articles and videos? We could do that. But I wanted to first have a look at, see if it could point out any misconceptions that 7th grade students would have. Okay, all deserts are hot. That's a common one. It's a great one. The climate in a biome is always the same. The animals and plants in a biome never change. So talking about migration, hibernation, and adaptation, these are all really helpful. And then I asked it for a poster. But the other thing that we could also ask is, could you provide me with a list of resources? Or getting back to the T, was it T or B, Jeff, that we talked about as far as the different populations or anyone we missed out?
I think you
Diversity.
should, yeah, I mean, regardless of what letter it goes to, I think asking that question is, are there underrepresented voices in your response, or um, can you review your response for any bias that might be there? Those are some examples of ways to check for such things.
Hmm.
Voices, I mean, underrepresented
Voices, yeah.
people, yeah, in your response, and see what it says. Just indigenous people.
Yep.
And what their voices are.
I did this before, and historical and colonial impact, which we know, local and cultural perspectives. The other one that it came up with before are microorganisms, which I thought was interesting because it's usually the macroorganisms we talk about. Um, so that it's a great conversation piece to just continue thinking about how pulling different things into a lesson. Yeah.
And I think what you've modeled really well. I think one of the major points and we're going to touch upon this in the next couple of slides too, is just that it's an interaction, right? It's a give and take. It's a back and forth. You use the term thought partner, which I think is spot on to say that it's not type something in, get it out and go. It's always looking for what you want, refining it, and asking it more, telling it what it is that you want. So,
Mhm.
and I would look at that and think, can I please have a rubric? Give me 3 possible outcomes or 3 possible ways students can show their learning and the rubrics for them, or scoring guides. And just because that's something I'm going to need, and let ChatGPT help you with that. And of course, I can always alter it, right? We're going to make it our own.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then of course you would have to go in, and what's really nice is you can copy out of here. You can also upload files and more. So if you already have a rubric on a biome project, you could upload that, and then they could ask ChatGPT to incorporate. Like for example, I would want some more interactive components within the biome project, or maybe some SEL.
Mm.
Yeah, or
And
anything
you could, when I've done science, when I've done looking for an AI tool to help you with science related topics or hands-on activities, what I'll do is I'll type in the materials that I have, right, and ask it to make sure that whatever it gives me can be created with the materials that I currently have.
like.
Because sometimes before I did that, I would get samples and ideas, but it would require materials and tools and things that I didn't have or couldn't get access to. So that would be something almost like cooking, right? I can put
Yeah.
in, here are the ingredients I have. Can you create a recipe? Something similar to that. So let's take this idea and move it forward into the idea of ethical and responses or ethical considerations when we are using large language models. But you want to show them the starting points there. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we have several. If you would like to pause our presentation and try out the large language model, feel free. But we do have some prompting examples here with some nice visuals in there. Here's the example conversation with ChatGPT that we just had with the extension of today's recording. And then there's also 6 other starting points if you want to dabble with ChatGPT or Perplexity or Copilot, Gemini, whichever ones you'd like to try out. Sometimes it's fun to take a prompt and put it into 2 or 3 different large language models and see which one gives you the best response. I've heard Nicole say that several times.
Yeah,
All right.
great. Well done, Janice. Thanks. So now we want to talk about, and we never miss the opportunity to talk about the ethical and responsible use of these AI tools, whether they're large language models or some of the other tools. Nicole and her colleague Kate Meyer, who's a high school English teacher at MDI, have come up with this concept of human. The overarching concept is keeping the human in the loop, and that the AI will always give you output, but you are in charge of that output. You're in control of that output, and so the human is always going to be part of that. So here's our ethical use framework. We start with H, which is basically halt and consider before you use a tool whether you should use a tool or whether you should use the output and how you want to use that output. There are times when it is arguably not appropriate to use an AI tool. So considering terms of service and making sure that the user, whether it's at the age of a student, and whether or not that student is old enough to be using those tools or that particular tool. Also, if you create output with AI, is it going to sound like AI? And do you want it to sound like AI to the person receiving that output? So if Janice does something terribly nice for me and I want to write her a thank you note for what she's done, do I want it to sound like an AI tool? That seems relatively insincere, and I think probably wouldn't sit well with my friend Janice. So I would stop and say, that's something that needs to come from me and not from AI. So really considering what the outcome you want from that task and whether or not AI is an appropriate tool to use. And then the U in human stands for utilize, and Janice did a great job of modeling her prompting skills and how she had that conversation with the robot. and making sure we use those tools to get what we're looking for more efficiently, again, looking to save time. M is for monitor the accuracy and bias. AI tools are getting better and better all the time with their accuracy, but they still create what are called hallucinations and making, inaccuracies, right? Or the bias that comes up. So when we first started doing this, if you typed in, give me a picture of a scientist, it would generally show a white man, right? And so that was just a small example of bias. And again, things are getting better with these tools, but we need to look for accuracy. We need to look for bias. We need to look for what perspectives are missing. Janish modeled that for you as well. So keep that's a big one. We call it AI literacy. It's not just for us, but we really need to be cautious about teaching this for kids so that they can learn to represent bias or recognize bias and inaccuracies. And then we need to authenticate. We need to take our output and we need to make sure that it has our voice so that it is not the AI producing that and then sending it out. It's our output and we're making it sound like us. And does the output match really what we want it to say? And is it enhancing what I want it to communicate, or is it replacing what I want it to communicate? And then it's always good to note, and how did you use the AI? Did it help your thinking? And do you need to disclose that we use it? So, when we have images on our presentations, a lot of times, if not all the time, we are using AI tools to help create those images, and we note that in the slide deck. Right? I use AI to help generate an outline for this, or I was brainstorming topics with AI, but you need to say that up front. And then sometimes we just need to cite our use. And so Holly Clark has this AI bias framework, and I won't read it to you, but I think it is it's a great framework as we look at how to interact with or recognize bias and misinformation. And a lot of tools these days will allow you to report bias that you find or inaccuracies and misinformation on their tools. Sometimes it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down mechanism. But when you find something, look for a way within that tool to report that so that those tools can become better and better over time. And of course, there's a video there talking about 3 types of bias in AI. Mm-hmm. So these are kind of funny examples in monitoring for accuracy and bias, but somebody typed in how many rocks should I eat? And the AI tool responded, well, you should at least eat one small rock per day. And then another person asked how my cheese is not sticking to my pizza. And so the AI tool suggested that they use 1/8 cup of non-toxic glue to their pizza to help the cheese stick. And so they might be kind of funny, but it is something to pay attention to in terms of especially educating our children as they are using these tools, because they are using these tools. I had mentioned earlier that the AI tools, the large language models, are getting better with their hallucinations. They're starting to really, it's upwards of 20% in the past, but those tools are getting better. The large language models are really cracking down on that. And again, we had mentioned Perplexity. What's nice about that is, again, you can check those sources. Sometimes AI tools will actually make up the sources themselves. And so with Perplexity, you can chase down those tools, those sources, and make sure they're accurate. And of course, academic integrity has been a hot button issue with ChatGPT coming online and plagiarism and cheating. And so Matt Miller and Holly Clark in their podcast kind of share this infographic, if you will, to kind of frame a conversation around plagiarism and cheating. And so at the top, we have completely bot created work. Student plugged prompt into AI, copied response, and submitted it to the teacher. Well, I think all of us would agree that that's cheating and that's not okay. And then at the bottom, student wrote all of the assignment without consulting the AI or the internet, and I think we would all agree that's totally okay. But it seems to be the in between that's becoming more and more gray, and conversations really need to start happening if they aren't already happening in our schools and with our kids about what is okay for use of AI. And we promote the idea that we need to teach the kids what is acceptable use and before because they are using AI, and so we need to kind of help guide them through how it is that they can or what is acceptable use, what is cheating, and what is plagiarism, and then also how do we need to change our instruction in the days of AI as well. And of course there's AI detectors, but so a lot of we have come across educators who are in their response to AI, especially when it comes to writing and submitting written assignments, are going back to handwritten assignments, and kind of that's their way to ensure that assignments are not being that cheating and plagiarism are not occurring with those assignments. And we are a little bit concerned about that because technology has been a great leveling force, and there's so many modifications and accommodations that can be employed with the use of technology. We'd hate to see that go by the wayside for those kiddos that need that. Also, AI detectors are inherently inaccurate. They are biased against non-native speakers, non-native English writers. I think an AI tool even suggested that the Constitution of the United States was like 97% written by an AI tool, which obviously it wasn't. So we tend to like to think about, rather than using AI detectors, taking a look at our assignments and our instruction, and how do we help kids navigate through and not need to use AI tools to cheat, um, rather than just employing these AI detectors, which are inaccurate, and not to mention the damage it can do to our relationship with the kiddos if we're accusing them of cheating when in fact they may not be cheating because the AI detector said that they did. So something to consider for sure. And then, of course, there's personally identifiable information. We talk a lot about this with kids when it comes to posting online, social media, etc. But it's really no different with AI tools. And to remember that any information you put into an AI tool is training that tool. So making sure that they're not putting in names, date of birth, address, all of those things that we talk about in other tools, we need to make sure is true for AI tools as well, making sure we check privacy statements, terms of service, district policies, et cetera. Those are all things that we need to do prior to using our AI tools, not just ourselves, but with our kiddos. And then there's some great lessons from Common Sense Media on personally identifiable information as well. So time for some more play.
Yes. So time for some more play, and we've shown you a lot of tools. 3 for machine learning and then large language models. And we've provided you with a lot of information. Excuse me. And now we're going to give you some time to play, but we often say choose 1 or 2 tools to really dive into and learn really well rather than try to do all of them. We've tried to do all of them just because we need to be familiar with them in order to present and help other teachers, but for your sake, maybe dive into 1 on each side, maybe student tools and teacher tools for this session. And I'm just going to, we are actually, yes. So at the beginning, we had Teachable Machine, Quick Draw, AI for Oceans, and we're actually adding 1 more, Codebreaker. Codebreaker is a large language model, but for kids, and it has really nice guardrails for them. There's no sign-in at all. They can have a conversation with the chatbot. which is really nice. So you can check that out during the playtime. But we are actually going to dive into Canva because we know Canva as being the ultimate presentation tool. Used to be Prezi, maybe Google Slides, and now Canva has some amazing, like just beautifully designed templates for infographics, documents. It's got the whiteboard feature, but it also has AI tools. And so we just wanted to show that. And just because AI image generator is really fun. So we're going to hop there and have a look at Canva. So some of the AI tools in Canva, you can see right here, there are more than 10. But the specific ones that your school might have would be Magic Write is for 13 plus. So that's mostly for 9 through 12 students. But the high school has to turn it on, correct, Jeff? Yeah. All right. And then text to image, it's actually called Magic Media. Um, we're going to show that. These were all created in Magic Media. Jeff's little hat, my little alien there, or a very large spider. And so we're going to show you that, but these ones, if Canva is turned on for students, then they can use text to image at the younger grades too. And so you have a couple of 10 new Canva AI. There's a video here that can help you meet Magic Studio, which is now called Magic Media, I believe. And so here, I'm actually going to hop out and Jeff is going to help us create in Canva.
While Janice is doing that, then the next couple of slides in the presentation will show you how to do this, how to log on and create an account, etc. So how to do what we're about to do is totally in the next couple slides. The other thing that's fun about this is Magic Media, while it is accessible by your kiddos, also has some tremendous guardrails in place. You can't even use Nike. Like if you were to type in Nike, it would say, sorry, that's not allowed, or Taylor Swift, you couldn't say that, or any words, even like the word attack or anything that would resemble anything that might not be appropriate. It's not going to create an image for your kiddos with that. What we also recommend is play with this yourself before you do it with your students. If you want to do that with your students, and there's some great activities you can use this for. But think about what your kiddos might say or try to create an image and try that and see, and so that you feel confident that they're not going to get an image of something they shouldn't because they tried.
Yeah. And so I hopped into Canva just because we're not there kind of to guide you or help you. So I just want to show we already have the presentation open. So in order to use Magic Media, you do need to have either a document open or a presentation of some sort in order to access the apps, which you'll watch me do. But that's the reason. If you're looking for it in your home screen in Canva, and you can't find Magic Media, it's because you haven't opened a project yet. And that's very important. And so we already have our slideshow open, as you can see. And so in apps right here, you should be able to go and type in Magic Media, and it would be right here. It doesn't have the best little icon, but that's what it is. And so we have a little prompt here that we're going to type in. And so Jeff, we're going to type in create an animal. Can you give me an animal?
How about a lion? No, you know what? A moose. We're in Maine. We're going to do a moose.
Create a moose.
eating and again, we'll stick with the main theme, right? So you could do this
Okay.
during your main studies, right?
Swamp
So main
grass.
theme stuff. Eating a whoopie pie.
Eating a whoopie pie. Yep. At a, where is it? At
I would say at a beach on the ocean.
a beach on the ocean, not a lake beach.
There you go. While fishing.
Fishing with a blank color sky.
Let's do pink sky.
Pink sky.
All right.
Okay. Now, the other thing we didn't do, so I'm just gonna copy this in case. There are different styles that you can choose. Do we want to choose any styles or just go classic?
Let's go dreamy. Right, a little bit
Dreamy,
right there. Let's go dreamy.
dreamy. We're going dreamy.
Let's see what happens.
Okay. All right. Generate. A dreamy moose eating a
Yeah,
whoopie pie with a
but of
pink
course,
sky. That's very poetic.
there you go.
That does not look like a whoopie pie.
Uh, so that's a great conversation to have with your kids to remind them they're talking to an AI tool, right? So
Yep.
what did the AI tool get right, or what is it missing? And then back to our point earlier, which is this is a conversation. So if you click and you look, you're like, that's not quite right. Go back and keep
Yep.
telling it what it wants, what you want until refining your prompt.
Yep. You can also do, maybe we should add chocolate, a chocolate, chocolate,
Absolutely, never go wrong with more chocolate.
chocolate with cream whoopie pie
There you go. I like your
again.
thinking.
Just so it has that dark
Hmm?
and
A little
light.
bit more detail. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, now he's chilling.
I'm curious, Janice, if you keep those images, don't change your prompt, but just change the style.
Okay.
If you, yeah, just instead of dreamy, try filmic or
Filmic.
photo and just see how that changes
Okay.
the image.
It
Yeah.
actually did a pretty good job. Whoa, where'd the moose go?
I don't know. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's-
How
huh,
about let's just generate.
yeah.
That never happened before.
Only when you're recording, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Only
of
when you're
course.
recording does it not happen.
Hmm. And realizing I shouldn't slurp my coffee.
Yeah. So while this is coming up with images, there are great ways to do some descriptive writing activities with this. If your kids are struggling with descriptive writing, as my kiddos often did, you could type in a sentence that they wrote and it would generate an image, and then go back and add descriptive language to that sentence and see how the image changes as a result of adding descriptive language to the sentence. You could also, if you're reading aloud to your kiddos and you want them to give you some kind of sense that they understand what's going on in what you've read, they could be using their language and generating images and then sharing those images with you to see how does that compare to what you want them to get out of what you were reading to them in a read aloud. So looks like our internet is not necessarily cooperating. So
Yeah.
think that they get the idea, and it's a pretty fun activity.
Yep.
You can do figurative language activities. You could do SEL activities. Generate an image that makes you feel, happy or something else, or create an image and see what emotions are provoked by the image that you created. So, there's I like that one.
That's a great one. He
That's a
caught
great one.
fish too.
There you go.
But it's a
Right.
pie. But it seems like the antlers are correct. It's got
Yeah.
the right number of legs, maybe missing one over here.
Very
Um,
cool.
but that's
Yeah.
another thing to look at.
Oh, always looking for fingers and toes and whatnot, and how to notice whether an image is AI generated or not. So lots
Yep.
of topics to talk about. Very cool.
Yeah.
Lots
And
of
then
fun.
here we have it's a Padlet where you can add your Magic Media creation to if you'd like, or just see other examples from other PD sessions we've had. And then here are some AI enhanced icebreakers. And these are just here for fun. And let's see. And if you forgot where we found Magic Media, you have some screenshots here. There's also step-by-step directions, video directions, signing up for Canva, how to do that. And then I'm actually going to navigate back to the sandbox. And so we provided, what was it, 15 minutes of a sandbox session, 20. And so feel free to navigate from here. It'll take you back, and anywhere you see an hourglass, you click on that, it'll bring you right back here to the toolbox. Yeah, and I think that's it. So feel free to pause and come back when you're ready, and we'll wrap things up. Wait a second. Were we going to actually walk them through these ones?
I think I think the explanations are there for them, and I think that's good
Okay.
if we cruise to the end. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. All right.
Yeah, so we have a saying, don't just AI to AI, make it purposeful. You know, the end goal is not to use AI. The end goal is to use AI as a tool to help kind of reduce that amount of time that you're spending on creating things, um, and resource development and whatnot, so that you can spend that time on more purposeful activities with your kiddos, and doing the things that you know really matters to them, as opposed to the things that are just in the creation phase. So figure out what you want to do first, and then try to find the tool that helps you do that best.
Correct. And just to go back to the tools, um, I will click on Diffit here. So you've got Magic School, which and Brisk Teaching and Diffit. These seem to be the three, well, including Canva, three of the most common tools being used by schools around Maine. But each one of these has a main page, and then that'll bring you directly to the site. But if you'd like to learn a little bit more about it, for example, Diffit, it will generate student pages that they like graphic organizers and leveled text and translate text, all kinds of things like that. Learn more about Diffit. So you've got some try this out on this slide, and this is a Genially pop out. You've got a PD slide deck if you'd like to look around at those types of things. Each one of the tools has at least 2 slides that goes along with it.
So thanks for watching. Hope that you were able to move your knowledge of AI and how it works forward, and also maybe got some tools and tricks of the trade. Would love to hear back from you in terms of how we did, what went well for you, so we could continue it. Perhaps what didn't work as well, and so we could alter things to make these presentations better. So we've got the QR code and the tiny URL right there. So you've got all of our socials at the top there. We have a lot of information we put out that way. And of course, our emails are there.
Oops,
Please, that's Stephanie's, but that's okay. I think mine's on the
that's
front
okay.
page.
Yours is on the
Um,
front. We'll
right.
change it.
And we put that there because we really, our job is to help you. And if that means you reaching out and saying help with this or any more information about that, we will respond. And even if it means that we can meet with you in a Zoom or something, we're going to do everything we can to help you out. So please reach out to us.
Yep.
And we have opportunities to interact with us. Anybody, these are Zooms that you can register for, and anybody can come join them They're wide open for whatever you want. If you're experiencing something you need help with, if you want us to walk you through how to use something, you can show up for 5 minutes of the hour, the whole hour. The last 5 minutes, we're there for the whole hour and there to help you. Bring somebody along with you, even if they didn't attend any of the sessions. It's there as a way to help you out.
Yep.
And then we have a whole bunch more resources on some of the other tools that we offer in the next set of slides, and feel free to kind of peruse through those and see if there's anything there that jumps out at you, and reach out if you have any questions.
Yep, and there's even PD offerings if you'd like to look through that. And here's our team.
So thank you, everybody, for sticking with us over the last hour or so. And like we said, reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help you out.
Thank you very much.